This year for NAIDOC, where the theme is Heal Country, you might ask, what does that mean? I want you to take your hat off if you're coming this one lens as a non-Aboriginal person, and just will invite you on our path and our journey to talk about our connection to country. Country is an important aspect of our identity for who we are as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. It always has been and always will be. Connecting to country, or being on country, or looking after country. These are our responsibilities, or what we call custodial responsibilities, and they provide us as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with our strength, with our knowledge, and a way to healing. And that's healing in its multifaceted sense of physical, emotional, spiritual. When we talk about country, it's more than a place, it's almost like a person for us. And this connection is very different to any non-Aboriginal concept of ownership. And especially as we look at the history of our nation since colonisation, and that connection to country has been damaged in many ways, and it's being repaired in many ways, and that's part of our journey as one nation, talking about that. And unfortunately, country has been used for many things since colonisation. For me, my personal story, my family story about our connection to country and why country is important is around sort of my dad's story. When I first went to see my country as part of a significant journey for my family. So my dad, and I can talk about his name now, he's been passed away many years, Joseph Croft Jangari, Jangari's his skin name. He'd been removed from his country as a young boy, probably around the early 20th century, probably we don't know because records weren't kept because we weren't important, around probably 1926 to 28. We were from the desert country region of the Northern Territory, which is the Fitzmaurice or the Victoria River area, and he was probably only around 2 at that point in time. Dad thankfully got to reconnect with his mum and his family. Many of that family had also been removed from country, and they were living up in Darwin in around 1974. But he didn't get to go back to his country until the late 1980s, as he was researching his life story. In terms of those connections, getting back to country, they always provide this sense of not just belonging, but a way of us providing healing for ourselves and also coming back to that care for our country. As I mentioned, sadly my dad passed away in 1996. So we inquired through that family in Darwin if we could return him back to his country, which is around 800 kilometres south of Darwin. We hadn't made all those connections with the traditional owners. My dad had been back on one trip, as I mentioned. So when we mentioned we wanted to do this, straight away with that strength of that history, and it's an oral or a spoken history, not a written one, they just went, oh, this is your dad, this is your connection to family here, we want you to come back home, even though that had taken place 70 years earlier. So that was my first trip to country. It was pretty significant, obviously. And getting back to country, I think if you've been across this wide country, you'll know how big our country is. And my first impression was not just this wide brown landscape and big sky, but the life that was coming from the rivers there. There was the Victoria River and the Waddy Creek. So if you've heard that Paul Kelly, Kev Carmody song from Little Things, Big Things Grow, that's my story from my mob. You'll know of those places. So we took my dad back to lay to rest, and I met a lot of family, and I just want to use a couple of things connecting me to country, and I'll share a bit of a picture around my country. Special sort of piece of iconic part of our culture for many Aboriginal nation groups across the land is a coolamon. Coolamon is a word, I think, more from New South Wales and from Top End, but coolamons are used for lots of different purposes, for gathering food. When I was given this one, and this coolamon's made from trees on my country, pretty special stories is that they say the coolamon's used for carrying kids. So they said your dad would have been carrying one of these. So with all my 3 little jarjums of language from here, I put them in this, and we've taken photos of them as little ones. And this painting by my Auntie Violet speaks to me, speaks to my country. It shows the Janka, the women, collecting the kalatati, the bush orange, and putting them in their koala, the coolamon. The fruit are sweet and very tasty. The wood can be used as firewood because wood from this tree lights quickly and easily compared to other wood. The bark can be used for medicine, for scabies for the little ones. It's chipped off the trunk, crushed and boiled in water. Then the cooled liquid can be used in washing. The leaves can also be placed in a fire to make smoke, and this is wafted to make the rain clouds go away. This tree heals and has so many purposes. And that speaks to the connection around country and how it heals us and our kinship and shows the strengths of our connection. Okay, so that's a little bit about connection to country and kinship, and it shows the strengths of our oral traditions. For me, I felt full in my being, in my person, physically and spiritually and emotionally when I was back on country, full of belonging. Not just seeing more family, but seeing and hearing our stories and understanding more of my connection. So that's an ongoing connection. That's my community. It's just not me as one person. It's my family. It's this whole community and our connection to country. Just to finish off here, just want to say country is our family. It's our kinship. It's our law, L-A-W, and L-O-R-E law. It's our ceremony. It's our traditions and our language. And for Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people, it's been that way forever, if you want to think about it in a time concept. Or you might say, yeah, we know more and more that there's this long, whether it extends 65,000 years or more, we've had this ongoing connection.